for the right to hoist the trophy for the first time ever in this tournament. And these two teams, by just reaching this final, have also secured another big milestone as they have secured their spots in another inaugural event, the FIFA Futsal Women's World Cup, that'll be played later this year in the Philippines, the first event of its kind. And they are the two representatives of Concacaf in that competition by virtue of making this championship match here today. But it was not easy for either side. Neither team went through the group stage undefeated, as Panama lost to Mexico, and you had Canada dropping their opening match to Costa Rica, but both nations fought back very valiantly, and both had very exciting semifinal wins yesterday, and getting some revenge in a way because they beat the teams that actually won their groups here earlier this week. It was Panama over Costa Rica, and the Costa Ricans were the side that won in Group A, but Panama beat Costa Rica 3-1, while Mexico and Canada played to a 4-4 draw. The game was decided in penalties, with Canada beating Mexico, and Mexico had won their group with an undefeated record prior to that game yesterday, but Canada ousting Mexico after the Mexicans had gone 3 for 3 through their first three games. So two upsets in the Final Four, with Panama and Canada winning and both earning the right to play for the title here this afternoon. Panama became the first country to win in the semifinals yesterday as Las Canaleras took the lead in the 16th minute before Costa Rica tied things at the start of the second half. But then Panama pretty much adhering to the game plan that they had come out with, which was very disciplined and organized defending, playing on the counter. They regained the advantage late in the match and then put it away when their goalkeeper, Nadia Roy, scored in the final minute what was the bow on the win, scoring into an empty net as Panama won by 2. The other game, also very exciting, but for very different reasons. As Mexico took a 3-0 lead into halftime, Canada scored 4 unanswered in the first 4 minutes of the second half. And now these two teams for the final, Panama and Canada, marching on to the pitch here in Guatemala.
Damas y caballeros, les pedimos ponerse de pie para el himno nacional de Panamá. Seguido por el himno nacional de Canadá.
A huge moment for these two teams and these two nations, Canada in the red and Panama the white, playing in the title game of the first ever Concacaf Women's Futsal Championship. And it's kind of a rare dynamic in that they already know that they are going to the World Cup. So they have that confidence and they have that belief that they've already achieved a milestone, now trying to add to it with this championship game today. Panama with a very formidable starting five here, led by their captain, Kenya Rangel. The Crow is in goal. She scored in the semifinal matchup. And for Canada, a team that will not go away, so resilient, so difficult to play against. We'll see their starters in a moment. Eldina Rea from Costa Rica leads the officiating crew here for the meeting of the captains and our officials at midfield. And after the photo, we'll get a glimpse here of Canada's starters. And here they are. Offensively, Esther Brossard was terrific in the semifinal yesterday, scoring 2 goals. And Leah Palacio Tellier, the captain and keeper, was just as good on the backside, making some huge saves, especially in the second half, to keep Canada in front before the tying goal came late. So the table is set after 3 days of round-robin play through the middle of last week. A semifinal yesterday. It is now the championship match here today. First time ever for this event. So this will be remembered and it will make history as one of these two nations will be the first to ever win this championship. Canada will begin with it as we get set to kick things off. Off we go on the path to a title. The championship match in the first ever edition of the Concacaf Women's Futsal Championship. Panama in the white and Canada in the red. These two teams coming off thrilling wins in the semifinals just yesterday, and now here we are 24 hours later, turning around and playing for a trophy. Both sides, by just getting to this championship match, have already locked in their spots in the inaugural Futsal Women's World Cup that will be played later this year in the Philippines. Both of these teams with somewhat of a rocky road to get to this final. Neither was perfect, each losing back in the group stage. Canada, in fact, lost their opening match as they get the first shot away. That's going to be blocked and come out as Canada will restart here. But Canada lost their opening match to Costa Rica before rattling off wins over Honduras, the U.S., and Mexico. While for Panama, they lost to Mexico in their final match of the group stage. So it wasn't all perfect in arriving at this championship game, but they were very gritty, very resilient. Each team deserving of their spots here this afternoon in Guatemala. Canada played a remarkable semifinal against Mexico yesterday. In fact, Mexico led 3-0 at halftime, and it looked like they were going to run away with it. Canada was barely getting a sniff of goal, and it looked like they were completely outmatched, but then the Canadians came out, scored 4 goals in the first 4 minutes of the second half, and then took their first lead and held on to it all the way until the final seconds. It looked like they had booked their spot in the final when Mexico tied it with 1.8 seconds remaining. So we went to overtime where there was no scoring, and Canada eventually won it on their final shot in penalties. A thrilling win to get here to the final. Meantime, Panama, a 3-1 win over Costa Rica yesterday in their semifinal matchup, taking the lead in the 16th minute before Mexico was able to tie it midway through the first half. Panama came back and scored what turned out to be the game winner just after halftime. And then it was a goal from their keeper in the final minute of play that locked things up and ensured the 2-goal victory. Panama winning 3-1 and Canada winning in penalties after a 4-all draw. Canada, a team that likes to play direct. They use Brassard, who scored 2 goals in the semifinal yesterday, as a target player at the top of their opponent's box. They try to get her to hold up play and either get on the ball, turning and shooting on target, or having other players run off her so she can dish out passes and opportunities for her teammates. Panama, meantime, likes to play in transition when they can. They do have some pace. It'll be interesting. Neither team dominant on the ball here in this tournament, so you have 2 very interesting styles. It'll be fascinating to see how they employ and decide on their tactics here today. And also because it's the first final that these teams have ever played in a tournament as significant as this, you wonder how the nerves will come into play and how long it might take them to settle in and find a rhythm to their play and their approach. Canada able to hold it in here, but that's a bad giveaway in a dangerous area. Panama trying to get a shot away, and that is blocked. Canada took advantage of some Mexican giveaways in their own end yesterday to get back in that match early in the second half, and that's what really jump-started their comeback. There's Dadale for the Canadians, getting the layoff, and then wrong-footed. Really need to hit that with the left foot there. So it goes out. Panama brings it back in quickly. 3 minutes gone by, no score. Championship match here in Guatemala. Canada, a team that will press and try to smother you, especially in the middle of the pitch. Trying to create turnovers. That's what they did to Mexico yesterday, forcing the Mexicans into some errors. That's why you have to be technically sound and also patient in this sport. When faced with pressure, sometimes teams just get a little too nervous and end up picking the ball downfield and conceding possession. Now Canada in transition. And there's a long ball that's intercepted. That's another problem sometimes in the sport. You make those long passes across the field, low percentage. And many times they can get intercepted, and all of a sudden it goes into a counterattacking opportunity the other way for your opponent. And they have a chance on goal before you know it. You always have to be on guard, measured, and careful here. There's a pass intercepted. A careless pass by Canada. Now Panama looking for an angle here. It'll go out for the game's first corner kick. That one deflecting off Jade Hoofhoff. And Canada clears. Canada, the highest scoring team in the tournament with 15 goals. They've allowed 8. Mexico had been the highest scoring side before they were eliminated yesterday. Mexico went 3 for 3 in the group stage, winning all 3 of their matches in pretty convincing fashion, but then losing in dramatic fashion to Canada yesterday. Now a chance for the Canadians. Shot is blocked. Can they get another crack at it? Just trying to work the perimeter to set something up. There's Mellenhorst. That'll be deflected out, and it'll stay with Canada. Both of these teams finished in second place in their respective groups. Canada was second in Group B to Costa Rica, while Panama was second to Mexico in Group A. But here we have 2 second-place teams meeting to finish first in the tournament. There's Gosselin running the player off the ball. She scored the first penalty for Canada yesterday. And now intercepted. Canada has numbers if they can hurry. Could be a 3-on-2. In search of the first goal. In fact, the first shot on goal. Played across, deflected and in! Canada strikes first. Erica Heinmarsh gets her second goal of the tournament. It took a deflection, but Canada will take it, and they lead 1-0. Giveaway by Panama, and Canada racing forward, the numerical advantage. One-touch passing, and from Heinmarsh, it deflects off of Laurie Batista and into the upper corner. And Canada with a much different start to the game today than what they faced in the semifinals yesterday when they were trailing 3-0 in the first half of that opening frame. Mexicans hit them quickly. They really didn't realize what had happened. They were down 3-0. They were reeling, went into halftime, and you got a sense that maybe the game was over at that point. But Canada here scoring first, and this is a little more like it. They are a team that throughout this tournament has typically scored the first goal. In fact, yesterday in the loss or the meeting with Mexico, that was the first time they had not scored the first goal of a match. So back in familiar territory here. Tellier throwing it long, looking for Brassard. Couldn't quite get it there. And Canada will concede the throw. Now, conversely for Panama, they're no stranger to trailing. They have been behind multiple times in this tournament and still found their way to this title game. Right ahead for Brassard. Couldn't quite control it as it skipped over her left foot and out. Canada forced deep in their own end. And they'll just give away an opportunity, not conceding the corner kick here, but restarted. Panama deep in the cannon. Tellier makes her first big save from long range, but she finally recorded the first stop for either keeper as Brassard just shoots it wide. That's a good play from Nadia DeCroix, the keeper for Panama there to cut down the angle. Tellier, terrific in goal yesterday, and DeCroix also very good for Panama in each of the 2 victories. And it took a touch, so it is a corner here for Canada. They'll go out and remain with the Canadians. Long range shot, never had a chance. Canada again building. Panama intercepting, and it'll go off the Canadians here and belong to Panama. Adelaide. Oh, that's some crafty footwork. Straight down the middle, she shoots, and the save is made, but the start of a rebound. Hammers it home. McCroy made a terrific initial save, but Broussard right there with the finishing touches, and Canada takes the 2-0 lead. She had 2 goals yesterday, gets her first here in the championship match. Off the rebound. Adelaide just waltzed down Main Street there. Nobody picked her up. That was a great save by DeCroy, but just she was so vulnerable there on the rebound, not getting any help from the defense. And Broussard there to stick it back, and now 2-0 is the lead for Canada. So Canada in a comfortable spot here, but the interesting thing is, as we have a player down now for Panama, now that is Gloria Sands, and she will slowly get to her feet here. And as I was about to say, the interesting thing for Canada, they will have in the back of their minds what they did to Mexico yesterday when they were trailing 3-0 before coming back to eventually take the lead with 4 unanswered goals. And, of course, it was ultimately decided in the penalty shootout. So while it may be comfortable at the moment, they will realize that there's a long way to go. And a 2-0 lead is by no means a security blanket. Now in their own end, faced with the pressure, Peon plays it out. That's some good work by Perez. And Tellier with the easy grab. Oh, that's dangerous. And taken away by Panama. Yeah, but the pass too far for its intended target. Arianes Argaliz just couldn't quite get there. Got to be a little more sure-footed with those passes in the final third, and it has to happen quickly. Passes have to be accurate, crisp, on the money. There's just no time to have plays that take a while to develop come to fruition. Panama has to retreat in their own end. And allows Canada to push some players up. And pressuring the Panamanians, they turn it over. Scooped ahead. And all the way out. Now this would be quite a tremendous turnaround for Canada if they can take this all the way home, losing their very first game of this tournament to Costa Rica. And if they were to hang on here, it would be 4 consecutive victories after that. They first shut out Honduras 6-0, then beat the United States in an upset 3-1 before the insane victory over Mexico in penalties yesterday. Here's Gosselin controlling for the Canadians. Flicks it along. And over to Panama. Now Panama looking for a genuine goal-scoring opportunity. Their best shots have come from distance so far. They haven't been able to craft anything in tight, and they won't do it here. Wholesale substitutions coming for Canada now. One thing we've seen here over the last several days from Canada is scoring depth. They've added some more players to the tally sheet, and players with multiple goals, like Brossard, who had the 2 yesterday, already has 1 of the 2 today. Freire, Hindmarsh, Dadele, all multiple goals for Canada here in this tournament as we approach the midpoint of this opening half. Corner kick for Panama. Looking to have the Canadian lead. And looking for a quality shot to help them get there. Canada very robust defensively. Now here's an opportunity. Played out wide. And a corner kick upcoming. Quickly into Brossard. And a shot kind of fanned on. Rupi Terrien here initially couldn't get a clean shot away and then just hammers it over the top. Now, this is what Canada did so much during the second half after they took the lead yesterday against Mexico. They basically collapsed the middle of the field and really sat back to make it difficult for Mexico to find any proper shooting lanes. And it took the Mexicans until the final 2 seconds to get that tying goal. And even then, they did it with a very clever little flip over the top as Tellier makes the save there on a long-distance shot. We had a little looping ball that came across the face of the goal and a one-time volley, but Canada did well to shut them down for the majority of the second half after they had scored 3 quick goals in the first half of play. And now trying to keep that same resilient defensive discipline and structure here today against Panama. No, a turnover. And Canada, though, can't get things sorted. Now long-range shot. Again, misses the frame. So Panama reduced to those low percentage efforts. Tellier's made a couple of good saves on them, but no shots from in tight. And that one is dangerously off the bar. DeCrow grabs it. Panama tries to play in transition, but that was another good chance for Canada. Just how quickly they can strike. Chipped and headed just off the post. Oh boy, DeCrow caught a break. Now for Freire, waiting for support. Plays it to that far side, and DeCrow snatches it. Friere again trying to lay it off, leaning back into the defender, kind of lost her balance. Peon back for it, bounces over her. And now in front, and Tellier makes the save on Erica Hernandez with the head ball. She was all alone. Probably should have done more with that. Just flicked it on to Tellier. I know there wasn't a lot of pace on it, but I wonder if she just got caught by surprise that nobody picked her up. Tellier knocks it down. And once again, Hernandez was right in front. Boy, oh boy, that was the best chance in terms of an opportunity in tight that Panama has had so far in this match. Now under 7 to go first half. They trail by 2. Friere, with 2 defenders in her face, goes backwards. Now Friere going to fire. Here's Mellenhorst. And too far for Gosselin, out of her range. She scored the first penalty yesterday. Now Mellenhorst. Peon. Long range shot is blocked. Mellenhorst again. That's a good turn. Good shot on the rebound. And Gosselin is there to hammer it home. 3-0 Canada. Well worked by the Canadians here. Perfect turn by Mellenhorst. DeCroix after the save. Nobody to support Gosselin on the doorstep. Open net. And one of the easiest goals that she will score. So Joelle Gosselin makes it 3-0 in favor of Canada. 3 goals from 3 different goal scorers, Hindmarsh, Brassard, and Gosselin. And now with just under half a dozen minutes left to go in the first half, it's Canada in control. Gosselin trying to turn, which she does. Would have been in alone if she could have really gotten the ball sorted in her feet quicker. Now Hoonshoff, 1v1. Back for Gosselin. She's going to let it fly. So it's easy to realize that Canada is in the same position as their opponents yesterday were when Mexico led Canada 3-0 in the first half of their semifinal game, before Canada came back with 4 goals in the first 4 minutes of the second half and looking for their 4th now. But this could be a different story because obviously when you're talking about Mexico and Canada, you have 2 teams with more offensive firepower than what Panama has. So the likelihood of Panama coming back from this type of a deficit, which they have not done in this tournament, is a lot less likely than what Canada was able to pull off yesterday. But still, a long road to go. 5 minutes remaining in the first half and a full 20 left to go in the second frame. Canada has largely controlled the pace, the tempo. Panama had 1 chance in close, but most of their shots on goal have come from a long way out. Tellier has been solid once again in goal for the Canadians, and their defense has also been very strong in front of her. Brassard can't run that one down. He was able to cover, but out and over to Panama. And trying the overhead kick. Maritza Escartin really couldn't find a way to get a foot on it. Trying to find Broussard. The pass intercepted, though, by a body up, but then given right back. And there is goal number 4. Broussard has the brace. Just guides it in on the one-timer across the middle of the pitch. And it is a runaway now for Canada. 4-0 first half. Still 4 minutes left to go as well. Snyder Eckenberg on the assist here. And Broussard just wide open, empty net. That's 2 times now that Canada has able to just guide it in with empty nets, relatively routine goals. So Broussard has a brace for the 2nd straight day. Had 2 goals in the semifinals, has 2 goals here in the final. And it is all Canada here. Satterberg, 1v2, and shoots just wide. And almost a giveaway by Pion. It will belong to Panama. Tellier throwing long with 3.5 to go first half. The Canadians with 2 goals from Broussard, a goal from Gosselin, and 1 from Heinmarsch. They have the 4-0 lead. The biggest lead they have had since their 2nd game when they shut out Honduras 6-0. And this is back-to-back games now for Canada. Scoring 4 goals in a contest. 4 yesterday came in 4 minutes, but not until the 2nd half in that 4-minute stretch right at the outset. Now Panama trying to find a way into this game, and nothing going their way at the moment. Now, one of the multitude of problems for Panama, in addition to not getting any high percentage shots in the final third, is that they've been very disorganized on the back line as well, allowing the Canadians odd man rushes and numerical advantages in the final third, and just allowing those shooting lanes to open up. And even when the keeper DeCroix has made a save, there's been nobody there defensively to help clear it away for Panama. She's been left on an island. And typically there's been at least one Canadian player there with an easy tap in or an opportunity, as they have gotten on the ball first when it should be Panama. They're at least challenging after a rebound. But the fact that they have been so loose defensively has made it far too easy on the Canadians. Now under 2 to go here in the first half. Now Gosselin turns and fires. LaCroix made the save. She's made a lot of the initial saves, and several of the goals really haven't been her fault. I mean, they've come off the rebound where a Canadian player has just been there to tap it in to an empty net. Here's Mellenhorst. Deflected in on goal, and LaCroix once again is there to make the stop. She's been very frustrated with her defenders, not giving her the type of help she needs. Just a minute left to go, first half. It'll be played out. Panama will have it. Panama looks like a dejected team right now, while the Canadians are energized. Now, what a different story at the end of the first half today for Canada than it was yesterday. Well, they are flying right now. Couldn't be any more confident or feeling better about themselves. Yesterday, it was the exact opposite. They were shell-shocked, didn't know what hit them, trailing 3-0, and probably feeling like they were on their way out of this tournament. But what a difference 24 hours makes after 20 minutes. And a player down for Panama. Maria Montenegro back to her feet. Montenegro scoop. Canada back, diligently defending. Trying to take this shutout to the break. Can they add one here in the final seconds? And that is going to take us to the intermission in Guatemala. Halftime in the first ever championship match at the Concacaf Women's Futsal Championship. And it is all Canada. 2 goals from Esther Brassard, one from Joelle Gosselin, and the other from Erica Hindmarsh. And they are firmly in control, with Canada leading Panama 4-0 here in this title bout. Guatemala. Canada leading Panama 4-0 and trying to finish off their first title here at the Concacaf Women's Futsal Championship. Away we go in the second half. Can Panama find a path back into this game? Really dominated by the Canadians in the first 20 minutes. Looking for a shot early on. They get one, and Tellier makes the stop. Canada with goals from Heinmarsh, Gosselin, and 2 from Brossard for a 4-0 advantage here. Yesterday, they trailed 3-0 as the second half begins in their semifinal with Mexico, but they scored 4 goals in the first 4 minutes of the second half to take the lead. It would eventually be a game won on penalties, but now it's Canada totally flipping things around here as the Panamanian player slow to get up. And it's Erica Hernandez. After the foul, they'll get a free kick. But Canada has completely changed the narrative in 24 hours. They are the ones who have a firm grip on this match, leading 4-0 as the second half gets underway. But very mindful of how they came back yesterday and not allowing the Panamanians to work their way back into this contest. And that starts with good defense here at the outset and not allowing them the early goal that might give them the belief that help Canada get back in the game. Because when you get an early goal at the outset of the second half when you're trailing like this, then all of a sudden the confidence can start to build. So if Canada can shut that down, they'll feel very good about their chances as the second half unfolds. They get the first corner of the second half here. The shot deflected out, and they'll do it again. Now Panama with Hernandez trying to come back the other way. Intercepted by the Canadians. This is how they scored 2 of their goals. Brossard on the turn, and they'll keep it. Now Peon. The Panamanians, you can tell right from the outset of the second half, applying a little more pressure, not as content to allow Canada to have the ball in possession. They know they need to start creating some chances, and that might start on the defensive end by pressuring the Canadians when they have the ball. Here's Hernandez at midfield. Back from Montenegro. Loops it ahead. Panama trying to work quickly. For Canada, they're trying to close down the shooting lanes here. That's one thing they don't want to do is give the ball away too easily in their own end. It's something that Mexico did against Canada yesterday that it led directly to a few Canada goals. So if nothing else, just make Panama work for it. Make them build out of their own end and not give them anything easy. Neon plays it long. Science goes backwards with it. corner kick. Not wasting any time. The restart, and it's fired from out high. Pretty good shot by Styens, but didn't really trouble Tellier in the end as it went wide. Panama intercepts once again. Well, we'll see if Canada makes this adjustment. They like to play those long balls, direct and over the top, and then start their offense on the pivot from there. But they don't necessarily need to do that now, leading by 4 goals. So do you run the risk of trying to play that long ball and have it intercepted by Panama at midfield, and then all of a sudden they have a numerical advantage going the other way in transition? Here's a chance for Panama here. The shot is blocked. They stay with it. As Cartine turns, and the shot is curled wide. So do you run the risk of giving the ball away too easily at midfield and creating an odd man situation for Panama on the counter? And you don't really have to force the issue like that. Like right there. That's exactly what they just did. And there's a shot that goes wide. Kenya Rangel, who had a goal yesterday in the semifinal win. And Canada just giving the ball away too easily. Now, Panama is pressing more than they did in the first half, but Canada just needs to be more meticulous in possession. Montenegro now long for Tellier, who came out to deny it, but that one just trickles wide. Rangel was there, and now she's down. That's going to be a yellow card on the keeper. It's our first card of the game. Tellier really didn't have a choice. Rangel was in alone. Maybe some miscommunication defensively. Nobody picked her up. And here she was, and she was trying the one-timer. And Tellier came out to deny it. She had to take matters into her own hands there. Well, first yellow card of the match, and a free kick for Panama. This is tough because you're going to have the wall. So even though it's in relatively close, you don't have much to shoot at. When you think of the size of the goal and the bodies in the way, every Canadian player there lined up, congested in the front of the goal. And Rangel, saved by Tellier, back heel. Got a whistle. And we'll do it once again. I think the issue was that she came off her line or came away from the wall the way she did. Let's see. Rangel from the same spot. And she finds a way to blast it through. He had just about everybody in front of that goal. And still drilled it into the back of the net for Panama's first goal. It comes just shy of the 4-minute mark here in the second half. Kenya Rangel, who got the first goal in the semifinal victory yesterday for Panama, gets their first in the final here today. And the lead for Canada down to 3. Interesting the way the second half has started. Canada somewhat sloppy defensively and conceding possession. Panama has been better. They've been quicker. They've been sharper. They've been creating opportunities. They've been pressing Canada when they have not had the ball. But Canada hasn't exactly responded the way that you would expect. A little careless at times. Now here's Brassard. First half brace for Esther Brassard. Back-to-back races each of the last 2 days for Canada. Here's Hernandez. Now whipped across for Montenegro. Out at midfield, Rangel. Montenegro again going backwards this time. Rangel tried the one touch. Good defense by Canada, though. And it's going to be kept in by Sofia Terrien. Now Brassard, a little chip, and the 4-goal lead is restored. It's a hat trick for Esther Brassard, Canada's leading scorer in this tournament. And they once again are up by 4. It's 5-1 Canadians. Well, the Crow in goal probably shouldn't have come out the way she did. Would have been better staying back. And that allowed Brassard to make it an easy little chip. So that'll certainly go a long way for Canada in stifling the momentum that Panama may have been generating with their play in first goal. It's something that Mexico wasn't able to do, is stem the run and the momentum and shut it down when Canada got things going with multiple goals early in the second half yesterday. That's the best kind of response when you can answer like that with a goal of your own. So all of a sudden it's a sizable lead. 5 minutes going by, second half. Now Ferrier drops it back. Now Pion on the run, just can't quite get there. It's well read. Played out by Lagasse. Now Rangel, the goal scorer. It's taken away. The throw comes sliding out. Neon back for it. And Tellier probably should have called her off as she concedes possession in the process. Rangel, oh, a terrific ball. And Tellier punches it out for a corner. That was probably the pass of the match right there. Quick flick off the corner. And Panama will have to retreat. Six minutes in. Type of play is fine for Canada. Just let Panama have the ball. Nowhere close to their goal, out at midfield. And they'll be fine with this. Well, they called for handball, but clearly it wasn't. Rangel. Taken away by Canada. And Pion able to keep it alive. Ferrer knocked down. And no whistle. Good physical defensive play there by Mayor Perez. And now, as a result, Panama gets another corner. Rangel with a shot blocked. opportunity for Panama here after the turnover at midfield. A little slow developing. And Tellier comes out to cut down the angle. That was a good move by Maritza Escatin, but just as she was falling down, couldn't get it on target. Made a nice move here to get around her marker. Tellier throws long, looking for Gosselin. Intercepted. Tellier rolls all the way downfield. Down by 4. And I wonder if Panama might start thinking about bringing the extra attacker out a little earlier than you might otherwise see. Here's Gosselin. Gosselin gets it back. 12 minutes is still a long way to go, but 4 goals is a big deficit to recover from. And now it's going to be 5 as they get their 6th goal here. A 5-goal advantage, their biggest of the game. Canada looking to put away Panama. It's now 6-1 here in Guatemala. Kira Mellenhorst, her first of these last 2 games. Just shot quickly when everyone thought it might go to Gosselin there. And just slotted it into that corner. And Mellenhorst, the 4th different goal scorer for Canada on the afternoon. And just as I was considering the plight of Panama and if they may get the extra attacker on, now all of a sudden 11 minutes or so doesn't seem like it's too early when you need 5 goals. I mean, what's there to lose at this point? Because they haven't shown the ability to score goals in volume here. So at this point, you might as well try. Played across to that far side, and Tellier makes the stop. Perez at a decent angle. Now she'll take the corner. Saenz, shot partially blocked. Tellier saves the corner and plays it out wide. Lands again here. We'll restart for Panama. Closing in on the midpoint of this second half. Panama got their first goal 4 minutes in to cut the gap to 3. But since then, it's been multiple goals for Canada, and they now have their largest lead of the game at 5. Here 6-1. This also matches Canada's largest output offensively in any game so far in this tournament. They beat Honduras 6-0 in the second game of the group stage earlier this week. Panama just cannot find a lane, any kind of an alley. And there they get it on the turnover. And it's deflected and into their own goal. An own goal for Canada, as it was Arianas Argaliz who was trying to cross it, it looked like, but it deflects off the Canadian defender and in for their second goal. Just off the foot. Now, it looks like it would have been a shot, but that one deflects off Shayla He and in. Hardly gets a goal, and it is now 6-2. 20 hop. Unfortunate bounce for Canada. And the lead now at 4. So pretty much right back to where we started the second half. Canada with a 4-goal advantage. Now an opportunity for Panama here with Argalis dropping it back, and they'll recover in their own end on the ball. Batista. 9 minutes to go. Batista flips it ahead. Batista goes long. And Tellier comes out. Canada stretching that defensive shape a little bit here, extending into the Panama end now. It's a good play. Batista dropping it off. Canada getting a little frisky defensively here. And Miss Gloria Saenz soon. Let's check it on her lip. Batista plays it back in. Flicked into the corner, and it goes out and over to Canada. Now here is Gosselin. The throw making the save, but giving up the corner to Canada. It's a pretty good effort. That one was headed for the corner. Top corner. The drive off the corner kick. And a player down for Panama. It took that one squarely to the face. It looks like Argalis, who is down, just scored that second goal for Panama. So the trainer quickly coming out. Canada really applying the pressure defensively. Getting the turnover on Panama. That's good work. 1v2 by Erica Hernandez. Taking it all the way down towards the corner. Needing some support, it finally comes in Rangel. She takes on multiple defenders, comes away with it, the shot, and she almost put that one in the back of the net. Wow, 2 different players for Panama at different times going 1v2, and they still wound up with a decent shot in the end. Rangel looking for her second, and Tellier just got a piece of it. Rangel out near midfield. Canada forcing Panama back a little bit deeper here. Still letting them have the ball, but just not without a little pressure. Battle for it, and Brosnard gets there, and it's going to be a foul against Canada. As Perez was knocked down, but The argument being made by Setter Eckenberg is that she got the ball and they arrived at the same time. Rangel, nowhere to go. Now Brassard. Going long for Brassard. Just a little out of her reach. Now Rangel with space through the middle. Brassard trying to track her down from behind. Hernandez. Good give and go sequence. Oh, that's some terrific defense by Eichenberg, who just clears it away. Batista is going to come out. Santa Maria back in for her with 5.5 minutes left to play. Panama down by 4. Looped ahead. Nobody there, though, for Panama. Brassard checks back to the ball. Canada just needs to keep it clean at this point. It's a giveaway to Panama, but read well. Now Brassard. Flicked into the corner. And taken away by Montenegro. He comes up the near flank. Under 5 minutes now left to play. A 4-goal lead for Canada. Getting closer. They can almost feel it at this point. On their way, apparently, to the title in the first ever edition of this Concacaf Women's Futsal Championship. Led 4-0 at halftime. The lead has never really been in danger. 4-goal advantage right now. Led by as many as 5. 6 goals from 4 different goal scorers, including a hat trick from their top scorer in the tournament, Esther Brassard. And they have pretty much been in the driver's seat and in control throughout this match. Scored their first goal 4 minutes in and have not looked back. Both of Panama's goals coming here in this second half. But Panama leading by 4 with 4 minutes left to go. Feeling very good about their chances now. Just trying to see this one out with solid defense. Panama will need something special and really unprecedented to come back at this point. Looking for a lane, trying for a shot. Side of the net, and that's curled into the side netting by Erica Hernandez. Canada lost their opening game of this tournament to Costa Rica, but then rattling off 3 consecutive wins over Honduras, the U.S., and Mexico, the 2 most recent of which were really superb wins. They beat the U.S. 3-1, won in penalties over Mexico yesterday in the semifinal round in a sensational game. And now looking to go wire to wire with a win here as they lead by 5 once again with 3.5 minutes now left to go. Gadale gets her first of the day, and Canada is on their way to the title here at the Concacaf Women's Futsal Championship. Just the turn, no one marked her. A little back heel. And DeCroix was leaning the other way. So that is pretty much going to seal it. Without any doubt, he's able to remove it here. Five-goal lead with 5 goals from 5 different players. And Canada with their most goals in a single game here at this tournament, now coming in the championship match. What a way to finish things off. An emphatic performance here, start to finish for Canada. Just demolishing this team from Panama. Here's Gosselin. They're still on the hunt for more. Ever since that tournament opening loss to Costa Rica, we have seen some memorable performances from Canada. The blowout over Honduras, and then the 2 really scintillating wins over the U.S. and Mexico. Now, outside of the shutout of Honduras, it's kind of funny that probably the easiest game for Canada is going to come here in the final. And this victory over this side from Panama that's really never had a foothold in the match. Probably not what Canada was expecting after Panama beat Costa Rica 3-1 yesterday. And again, that's a Costa Rica team that won their group, the same group that included Canada, as Costa Rica won the group and Canada finished second. With Costa Rica loses to Panama. Panama beating the team that finished ahead of the one they're losing to right now, and losing to by 5 goals. It is a crazy sport, and it has been a wild tournament here in Guatemala City. Now down under 2 minutes remaining. Hernandez turning, shooting. Tellier makes the save. He was outstanding in the second half yesterday in the win over Mexico. Another terrific performance here today. Rangel fanning on the shot. Here's Broussard looking for her 4th. Already has the hat trick on the day. And Panama now pretty much just trying to make it respectable. Perhaps add another goal or so. Taken away by Broussard. And now down to just over a minute left. And now exactly 1 minute left. Canada with more of a coronation now than a competition here at the end. And they add another just for fun. Elahi, the 6th different player to score today for Canada in the final over Panama. Splitting defenders and then roofing it. Eight to 2. As one-sided as any game as we have seen at this tournament. And it comes in the title match. And again, Canada equaling their largest margin of victory, assuming this score holds from here. They beat Honduras 6-0 in their second game in the group stage, and now leading by 6 in the final half minute here in the title game over Panama. Four goals in the first half, 4 in the second for this Canadian team that puts in their best performance in the biggest match. And now the final second here in Guatemala. And Canada will celebrate the title. Ball rolls out with just inside of 5 left to go. It is an historic moment and a milestone as Canada becomes the first ever winner in the inaugural Concacaf Women's Futsal Championship. Anticlimactic in the end, but no less thrilling for this Canadian group that saved their best for last. A 6-goal victory with tallies from 6 different players. 4 goals in the first half, 4 in the second. They demolish Panama and win 8-2 to claim the first ever trophy in this first-year event.
Jugar esta histórica final ya convierte el futsal femenino de Panamá en uno de los mejores de la región. Aunque no fue el resultado lo que esperaban, ¿qué te llevas de este partido de hoy?
Sabíamos que iba a ser un partido difícil y en cambio salimos a darlo todo y bueno, pasamos al Mundial y dimos un buen partido. A lo último no se nos dio el resultado, pero nos vamos felices.
¿Qué crees que deben reforzar de cara al Mundial de Filipinas?
Trabajar un poco más, que nos den esa ayuda para tener un buen trabajo en el Mundial y bueno, le pedimos de todo corazón que nos apoyen siempre.
Kenia, gracias.
Another interview coming here as Canada celebrates in Guatemala.
During the whole tournament, we have seen Canada as a united and strong team. What was the key?
I think we started from very far, but we stayed united through the whole tournament, during the ups and downs. We stayed united, and that's why we are champions today.
And we have a really good chemistry, the whole team together, and it's just amazing from girls that we know like 3 months ago, and we're here, champions here. It's just incredible.
Looking ahead, the World Cup in Philippines, what was the lesson that you have learned from this tournament?
That anything is possible when you work hard. I think that's the definition of our team, and we're so proud.
Yeah, we never gave up. We gave our 100% every game, and that's why we're here today. And we're gonna go to the Philippines with this mentality.
It's a dream come true. It's a dream come true.
Go celebrate.
Yeah, thank
Thank you.
What a moment for this squad from Canada. Again, they opened up their campaign with a loss to Costa Rica in their first group stage game, then rolled off 4 consecutive victories. All remarkable in their own ways. First, a 6-0 thumping of Honduras, then a win over their rivals from the U.S. 3-1 in a hard-fought game. Then the crazy semifinal matchup with Mexico yesterday when they trailed 3-0 at halftime, scored 4 unanswered in the first 4 minutes of the second half. Watch Mexico tie it with under 2 seconds left to go in regulation, and then had to win it in penalties on their final kick just to get to this final game. And now It turns out the championship match was probably their easiest of them all, outside of the Honduras game, as they get goals from 6 different players to win by 6 in a final of 8-2 here in Guatemala. So Canada becomes the winners of the inaugural event here, played in Guatemala City. And waiting for the trophy presentation next. For Panama, it's not all bad news, because they knew coming into the day that they had still gained a spot in the inaugural FIFA Women's Futsal World Cup. It'll be played later this year in the Philippines. So it was always going to be the 2 teams that made it to the final that would get the Concacaf spots for the World Cup. So even in losing, you win, so to speak, because the 2 teams that get to the final of this event go to the World Cup. So Panama, by making it to this championship match, even though they lost, will still get an opportunity to play for the biggest prize in the sport later this year in the Philippines. But for Canada, they have this championship and a berth in the World Cup to look forward to. In the end, Canada winds up scoring 23 goals while conceding 10. So better than 2-to-1 ratio. And showcasing quite a depth of scoring talent as well along the way, with some terrific goaltending from Leah Palacio Tellier, especially in the second half of each of these last 2 games, the semi yesterday and the final today. So the award ceremony about to begin.
Damas y caballeros, daremos inicio a la ceremonia de premiación del Campeonato Futsal Concacaf W 2025. Todos los premios individuales se basan en el rendimiento de cada equipo a lo largo de la competencia. El premio de Fair Play es para Canadá. ¡Felicidades!
And Leah Palacio Tellier gets the goalkeeper of the tournament award. Canada, the Fair Play Award as a team.
El
So,
premio a la mejor
looks like
portera
Tellier is
de la
expecting the Fair Play
competencia
Award for
es
Canada, but she's
otorgado
also going to be named
a la
the
número
keeper
1
of the
del
tournament, which
equipo
is
de
coming up
Canadá,
shortly. So
Lee
head
Palacio
right back
Tellier.
out there.
¡Felicidades!
The other individual award coming up will also belong to a Canadian player.
El premio a la máxima goleadora de la competencia, presentado por Aramco, es otorgado
Esther
a
Brassard,
Esther
about to win
Brassard
2
de
awards.
Canadá. ¡Felicidades!
This first one is for the top goal scorer in the tournament. She had the hat trick today, had 2 goals in the semifinals. She was just on fire here, especially when it mattered most in these last 2 matches. Almost had a 4th late in the game today. And Broussard will go back out in just a moment, a player in the tournament as well.
La mejor jugadora del torneo es para Esther Broussard de Canadá. Felicidades.
And here she is. The top player of the tournament, Esther Broussard, also the top goal scorer as well.
Concacaf reconoce y premia a los oficiales del partido de este día. Y ahora honramos a uno de los mejores equipos de la competencia. Por favor, felicitemos al subcampeón Panamá.
And now, accepting their second place medals, Panama. Well, it's not often you have the consolation of going to the World Cup in your back pocket. And after a title match like this, typically it's just the disappointment of a loss. And knowing that they have secured their spot in the World Cup will certainly help ease the sting somewhat from this very one-sided match where they were never really in it.
Damas y caballeros, tras una competencia histórica, estamos listos para reconocer al campeón del
And now
campeonato de
Canada
Futsal Concacaf
to receive their medals and the trophy
Canadá.
as the winners here in Guatemala. What a week at the Domo Polideportivo in Guatemala City for this team. Losing their first game and then winning 4 straight. The most emphatic victory came on the biggest stage here in the final as they win this Concacaf Women's Futsal Championship.
Damos la bienvenida a la capitana de Canadá al escenario, Lee Palacio Tellier. Felicitamos al ganador del campeonato de Futsal Concacaf W 2025, Canadá.
What a moment for Canada. There were teams that came in much more heralded than this squad. Bigger expectations, more of a pedigree. But this is what matters the most. The team where the confetti is falling on, holding the trophy and wearing the medal. Canada, the winners here at the Concacaf Women's Football Championship. Well, these are the highlights from this final match of the week in Guatemala. A 10-goal affair, but fully under the control of this Canadian squad. From the outset, they assumed control and did not look back. And this was the opening goal. On the counter, a little one-touch combination play, and Heinhorst gets to go in off the back of the defender for the first tally of the match. Canadians catching a little break, but then on the second goal, that was a well-worked play and a good one-time volley. And then here, off the rebound, this was Broussard stuffing in the first of her three as she had the hat trick in the game, but positioned perfectly to capitalize on that rebound. And then the header here almost goes in off the post. But there would be plenty more for Canada, including Gosselin's one goal of the game. Mellenhorst doing the heavy lifting here off the save. Gosselin turns it in to the empty net. And then after a giveaway, it would be Broussard with her second. The easiest of her three goals on the day. Empty net, and she just had to steer it in. So it would be a 4-0 lead at halftime. And then in the second half, they finally get on the board. Panama on a free kick. It is Rangel just blasting it through the wall. So at that point, Panama had a glimmer of life, trailing by 3. But then Broussard came back and ended any hope as she finished off the hat trick here with the crafty little chip. Her third goal of the game, restoring a 4-goal advantage at the time for Canada. But then Panama would add another late, but Canada kept the pressure on. Mellenhorst here, getting the goal after the assist earlier. Her one goal of the game. And just a terrific individual effort here in the shot. Well placed. Then Panama got a lucky break with a deflection off the defender that beat Tellier, who was otherwise pretty solid in goal. Second and final goal for Panama. That would be all of the scoring, as Canada would then come back. Defensively, very good. And then Dadalay here off the little back heel. She would get on the score sheet. One of 6 different players to score today in what would be a 6-goal victory. And another goal here with roofing it. Shayla He helping to finish things off for Canada. Just making the run down the middle and hammering it home. And then the celebration was on at the end as Canada routs Panama to win the trophy. So a terrific week in Guatemala City, and it ends with a decisive Canadian win. The final score once more is Canada 8, Panama 2, and Canada becomes the first ever winners in this inaugural edition of the Concacaf Women's Futsal Championship.